Did that work? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Kate Dorsett. I am a post-award officer in the Office of Sponsored Programs. That's my title. So, but in addition to sort of helping folks manage external grant awards, I also run the internal awards program for the university. And so that's what we're here to talk about. Those awards are the name SB, separately budgeted research. We're going to go through them all, but separately budgeted research, student faculty scholarship, university distinguished scholar, and the faculty research mentoring program. I do just want to say that at the outset, because career development is something separate. It's going to be managed by the provost's office moving forward. So I just wanted to put that out there at the outset. We're not going to be discussing that program. And I believe the timeline and guidelines for that are still to be released. I'm just letting a few more folks, and I will share this PowerPoint. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Great. So again, welcome for those that just joined. My name is Kate Dorsett. So what this is, what we're here to talk about today are Montclair State University's internal awards. They've been offered for many years here at the university. In more recent years, as we've grown in the as an R2 research university, these awards have moved under the Office of Research, but they all continue to support and grow. They're all meant to continue to support and grow scholarly, creative, and research efforts for faculty. So we use the term research in the broadest way possible. It's also to support scholarly and creative activities. And that has not changed. So you all should have received, the email that we are now accepting applications for these 4 programs, and we're going to talk a bit about each: separately budgeted research, student faculty scholarship, faculty research mentoring, and university distinguished scholar. So we're going to, as I said, talk a little bit about those programs and the guidelines, what's allowable, what's not, and then we're also going to talk about the application and review process. We're going to look at the InfoReady system that you'll be using to submit, and then whatever questions you have along the way. Before I launch into a discussion on each, let me just show you briefly the InfoReady site. If this lets me do that. Oh, there we go. There we go. As I said, I'm in the Office of Sponsored Programs, and we roll up to the Office of Research. And so the internal awards are sort of under OSP. So if you're at the Sponsored Programs website, you'll want to navigate to internal awards. And the InfoReady login is here. InfoReady is not just where you'll actually submit, it's where all of the application materials are. That's why I wanted to just look at it at the outset. You all will use your single sign-on to log in, your regular MSU username and password. It is that dual authentication of single sign-on. So you'll get that, buzz on your phone to log you in. But here are the internal award programs that we're going to discuss today. And before I just click into them, There's support documents over here on the right, a general applicant guide that InfoReady produces is over here if you need it for general guidance on submission. You can also feel free to contact me, but that is there. I'm just going to click into one of these to just briefly orient you to what it looks like. You'll see the deadline for all of the internal awards is February 3rd. It's coming up. A general description of what this program is, sort of general details. But these documents, supporting documents also over here, are really, you want to make sure you review those thoroughly, especially the guidelines will tell you everything you need to know. And then as well as the application instructions and the budget template or budget sheet that's required for some of the awards. So that is available for each of the funding mechanisms that we're going to talk about today. Okay. So are you all seeing the?
Yeah, we're seeing the note.
Yes.
You are seeing the note.
Yeah, I think you have to swap.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a second monitor and it's throwing me off, people. I know a lot of people find it helpful, but it's throwing me. Okay. Let's jump in to separately budgeted research, or SBR, as we all know. We love our acronyms. This is very broad seed funding. There is a concrete list of ineligible projects in the guidelines, things like projects that will produce items for sale, curriculum development. That's not, SBR is not meant for curriculum. Expenses that are considered peripheral, like indexing of books. So there is a list of ineligible costs, but in general, this is very broad seed funding. It's meant to support well-defined and purposeful research, creative, or scholarly activities. You can request up to $5,000. And when you submit your proposal, you'll submit that budget sheet, budget template that will, you'll put together your budget. And it can be for just about anything that's allowable at the university. It can be for materials and supplies. It can be to support travel, domestic or international. It can be to hire a student. Summer salary is an allowable cost, so you can request summer salary. The project period, as you can see down here, is the fiscal year, and that's for most of these programs, so 7/1 through 6/30. So we're talking about, if you request summer salary, it would be for this upcoming summer. And I just want to put it out there at the outset, there are no cost extensions with these programs. It's a firm deadline because it's the university's fiscal year. So unfortunately, that's where we are. I'll just finish this slide on SBR, then address any questions that people may have with it. The guidelines are actually terrific in terms of how communicating how these proposals are going to be evaluated. The 4 criterion are merit, feasibility, quality, and a priority level. And in recent years, the University Research Committee has created a rubric to show you exactly, what good is described in that particular criterion and how many points you will get for that. So I would highly recommend you, if you are submitting for SBR, to look through that rubric. one other thought about this, because it is so broad, it is the most popular program. It's very competitive, actually. Um, and in the past, there hasn't been a whole lot of funding with it. We've only had about $27,000 to distribute in $5,000 increments. So you see, that doesn't get very far. However, I will say, for those of you that have been at the university for many years, you may have noticed summer grant proposal development is not listed as a funding mechanism. This year, that program has been suspended, but that pot of money is still available and will be used to support these other internal awards. So that's the exciting thing. So hopefully we'll be able to fund more quality SBR proposals in their entirety. Okay, before I move on, are there questions about SBR? Yeah, Deborah, let's start with there.
Yes, so in part you answer the question, because I wanted to ask you, so how many scholarships in this category there are this year, just to have an idea on how much competitive is gonna become. And then I wanted to ask you where the criteria and the rubrics are, if they are in the guidelines or somewhere else.
Yes, they are in the guidelines. So let me do the second one first. They are in the guidelines. So if I click on the revised guidelines, and here they are. I'm just going to scroll to the top. It gives an overview of eligibility. And I'm sorry, I should have said at the outset, it's pre-tenure faculty or tenured faculty that can submit an application for these. Here's that ineligible project list I sort of hinted at before. And here's the evaluation, what these proposals are evaluated on. And then the very concrete rubric that the committee uses to assess. So it's all in the guidelines. In terms of, you may not recall, but we ran 2 rounds of internal awards last year because of COVID the previous year. So we had a round in the fall and a round in the spring. And it's a long way of saying we didn't get as many applications last spring as we perhaps would have had we just run 1 round.
I actually missed them. I did not realize that they were there.
Well, see,
otherwise
yeah,
I would have applied.
So I think there might be 6 or 7 awardees in the SBR category this year, and I think most of them were funded in full. Sometimes the committee decides to partially fund in order to support more applicants. And let me just also say, you can choose to apply as a single applicant or as a team. You could apply, as a team, either a team within one particular college or intercollegiate, application. So that is an option, and the InfoReady system does allow you to assign a co-I to your program.
Can you apply for more than 1 grant, or there is a caveat? No, if you apply for this, then you can't apply for the others.
You can apply for more than 1. However, I have seen the committee say, because there's not a whole heck of a lot of funding, what's the better? It's not too often that somebody gets funding in both in multiple mechanisms. So the committee might have to decide which one they would want to fund you in. So just note that. But you are eligible to apply for both. Brian, I'm sorry, thanks for waiting patiently.
No worries, no worries. So for the defined expenses in the budget that one proposes, it's pretty clear how you do that. Things cost specific amounts, or at least estimated amounts that you would you would enter into the budget. For the summer stipend, summer salary part, that seems a little more arbitrary. Is there a way that people typically calculate that or estimate that, or do you just go for the maximum and let the committee decide, or what's the recommendation on that, if there is one?
That's a really good question. How we, in the Office of Sponsored Programs, when you're submitting an external budget to an external sponsor and you're requesting summer salary, we divide your 10-month salary by 10 to figure out a monthly salary, and then times that by 2 months, what have you. Now, I don't think an SBR proposal is going to get you that, but I would sort of maybe perhaps use that as a starting point to figure out, well, how much are you actually paid for a month, and what would if you're going to spend 2 full weeks on the SBR proposal, maybe use it in that regard. I mean, I have seen people just request a full $5,000 SBR stipend. But of course, there is something here in the feasibility section whether the budget request is appropriate. So you would really want to justify why, the only thing you really need is the salary over the summer. You don't need anything else but the salary. I don't know if that answered your question, Brian, but those are some of the considerations I would think about.
Yeah, no, that's definitely helpful. And I guess I was thinking strategically for somebody applying, would it be a risk for them to ask for too much, or would the committee simply just make the adjustment as opposed to reject the entire proposal for asking too much? I guess that's sort of where I'm heading with the question.
Yeah. It really depends on the amount of applicants we get and how much funding we have. But I guess I could theoretically see at the committee, if somebody has clearly spelled out these materials and supplies they needed, whereas another person just requests a $5,000 stipend over the summer, I could see them saying, well, let's fund the supplies and the student worker in full, and we'll only give Brian $2,000 over the summer, because that's all we have to give, and at least it's something. So I could see that, but it all depends on the amount of applicants we receive.
Right. That makes sense. And sorry, just last clarification. It's $5,000 total, correct, including all expenses?
Correct.
Or it's not 5,000 separate for the summer stipend maximum? It's a total max.
Correct. Total 5,000.
Got it.
Just to open up the budget sheet so we can see it.
Thank you.
Yes. Kathleen, while this is opening, what was your question?
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
My question is whether this project has to be entirely distinct from your ongoing FSP project, or can there be any overlap?
That's a great question. There can be overlap. And I would encourage you to make that known in the application. I think the acting vice provost for research and the provost want the best bang for the buck in supporting research. So if you can say why this additional funding, if needed, you have the FSP and this additional funding will be here. I think that makes sense, and we've talked about that moving forward. Many of you know the internal awards went through. We had a consultant evaluate the program last year, and it's currently still under conversation about how the internal awards are going to be shaped in the future. But I do know that they were very clear that they want all funding mechanisms to support research, and so the idea that FSP and SBR could be used together to support something was something they wanted to encourage. So I would just say be transparent about it. And yeah, I think that would be a good thing, actually.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Here, you're welcome. Here is that budget page. So yes, a total of 5,000. So however you kind of put together that budget.
Got it.
Deborah, I see your hand.
Yeah, sorry for the many questions, but can this be used also like for NEH grants? You buy out your time that you dedicate to your courses. So it's basically an additional FSP, not for the summer, for the spring or the fall. Can this
That's
be
a
done?
really good question, and the answer is no. I'm sorry. I should have said there's very few unallowable costs, but tuition would be unallowable. Course release, what you're discussing, sort of a release time, would not be allowable. And subawards to other universities. If you have a collaborator at another university, we could not venture into a subaward agreement on an internal award with them. You can hire people as consultants if need be, but those subawards are not allowable either. So good question. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else with their hand raised? I don't think so. Okay. All right, so that was good. Let me go back. Well, okay. Student faculty scholarship is another funding bucket. This is primarily meant to provide research experiences for undergraduate students. So this could be data gathering, data entry and analysis, library research, field research. Awards will also be made for activities in the creative arts that appropriately involve, again, undergraduate students. So whereas an SBR proposal, you may hire an undergraduate student to help you in your research project. This is, as the sign says, less us, more them. This is about the undergraduate student and the work that they want to be doing, perhaps the paper or the presentation they want to do. The request cap is $2,000. It's meant to primarily support their salary, whether that's over the summer or throughout the academic year is up to you and the student. And again, you put together a budget. That's the very same budget template sheet that again is primarily their salary, but may also be materials and supplies or travel for them to a conference, to do field research somewhere, maybe the travel associated with that. So one faculty member can only submit one proposal. However, you could support more than one student with that proposal. So if you have 2 undergraduate students, that you wanted to support, but again, the request cap is only $2,000. So just note that. Deborah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Can it be used, for example, because I have the abroad program, so can it be used for a student who is enrolling in the program, and so he is sort of a scholarship to abate the amount of money that he's paying for that?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Okay, let's say I have a study abroad program. Students enroll in the program and they need to pay a certain amount plus tuition fee to be able to go. Can I apply for this kind of grant to have one of the students who are part of the program and who are getting the credits for the courses that they're taking to come with me. And of course, there is work that they're doing because they're digging with me, so they will have tasks. So I can definitely hire him or her to do things and to help me out as an assistant, but can this be done?
Yes. Yeah, yes, and they would be hired as an hourly student worker. They would sort of enter work hours that, on the post award management, I would work with you to, approve their hours. But yes, yep, that would be allowable. Enza.
Hi, thank you. For this student faculty scholarship, is there, I noticed that the project period is 7/23 to 6/24. So if a student can participate at a conference, the conference does not necessarily have to fall within the summer months, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted, because I know that the previous award wasn't like that, so I just wanted to clarify indeed that this would be like that.
Now, the past few years have had some wonky project periods, but anything, in that time period would be allowable.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes. Okay, Deborah. Yeah. One more.
I forgot to ask, do you need to have already the student who you want to support, or can he be chosen after?
Yeah, good question. I think it sometimes helps to have the student identified at the time of proposal because it feels more sincere, perhaps. This person they know what they want to do, and I just want to hire them. However, I think the committee that's evaluating this are faculty just like you all, and they get that we're in between semesters. Plus, sometimes people are identified, and then when you guys find out about these, if you've been accepted or denied, it's mid to late May, and maybe the student has found something else that they want to do over the summer or in the academic year. So things happen. I would say try to identify who that student is in the application if you can, but I have seen awards made where a student has not been named. Okay. Moving right along. University Distinguished Scholar is one of the more prestigious awards, and there's only going to be one of them. It is somebody that has a clear track record of scholarly and creative work. And the application, again, look at the guidelines, but you're really assessed on two things, sort of that past performance, and then what this award really is 12 credit hours of release time. It's like a sabbatical. So you're going to put forward a plan of what you're going to do during that time away, of what that proposed work will be. So those are the only two things you're assessed on. Again, the award is for the academic year, so that the release time could be in the fall or the spring. The only thing to note about eligibility is that you cannot have had a sabbatical in the past 3 years. So if you have taken a sabbatical in the past 3 years, you'll need to wait to submit to this program. So that's University Distinguished Scholar. Deborah, question about that one? Or no?
Well, it wasn't, but actually, I do. Are there any exceptions? So, for example, if you have a situation in which you're collaborating with another country and they are assigning you very specific tasks, can this be overlooked?
The thing about the previous 3
The
years
3-year
sabbatical.
sabbatical, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. It's one of the clearest. It goes to the heart of who's eligible, and I haven't seen any exceptions to it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Faculty research mentoring is, compared to the others that we previously discussed, this is the baby, but it has been around for 5 or 6 years. The purpose, this program is designed to pair faculty members with significant extramural funding experience with tenure track faculty who wish to be mentored, and together they commit to submitting a fundable research proposal. Priority is given to pre-tenure mentees with little or no prior external grants experience. So this is really, how do we support our new researchers who want to grow their research portfolio. And so the idea is to support this mentoring relationship in concert with our office. You'll see in the guidelines, there is a very sort of concrete timeline after the award is made for the expectations of this award. By far, this is the most high touch award of them all, because the idea is really to foster growth. It has to do with self-directed goals that the mentee and mentor would put in place. The team is awarded $8,000. And the project period is a bit longer. You'll see this one is 18 months as opposed to the fiscal year, typical 12-month. And the reason being is, past awarded groups have said that a year is simply not enough. Because the expectation is, again, at the end of this, the team will submit a proposal together to an external funding agency. The mentor could be the co-I, or they could be a member of the research team. It really depends on the team and who you are applying to. But that's something, again, the whole 18 months, you're sort of checking in with OSP throughout the program period, so that we can talk through things like that and what makes the most sense. So I would highly encourage you to review the guidelines, including that award timeline piece. Unfortunately, we don't have sort of a list of mentors that we would, if you were the mentee that's looking for a mentor, we could help brainstorm with you, but it's really up to you as a mentee to perhaps talk to your chair and talk to others in your department about what makes the most sense for you. We don't do that pairing. But that's the faculty research mentoring in a nutshell. This one, you do not submit a budget, at least not in the proposal stage, I should say. When you're awarded and when you first sort of put together those very concrete goals and objectives for the 18-month project period, we'll also ask for a tentative budget of what that would look like, but a budget is not needed. And these awards are not typically cut, meaning reduced, excuse me. They are an $8,000 award for the team. What questions, if any, do we have about this one? Yeah, Deborah.
Okay, first of all, I applied once when it was at the very beginning. It was actually I think the only one, or in any case, it was the first year they they created this when it was $1,000. So these $8,000 will be divided equally between, let's say you have only 2 people, so 4,000 and 4,000, and also how is considered an enter. So does he need to show that he has a certain record of accomplishments in winning external awards, or the mentor is just somebody who is a senior professor who can actually who can actually guide you because he has more experience in general?
Yes. So thanks for bringing that up. In when this program was initially launched, it was in supplemental pay. It was a summer stipend that people were awarded. That is no longer the case. The budget, the $8,000, which is split amongst the team, is to be used sort of like SBR. Well, no, because you can't pay yourself, but you can use supplies. But purchase supplies, go travel, hire. We've seen a lot of consultants being hired off of Faculty Research Mentoring Awards. If you need to attend, if you're applying to NSF, and it would be helpful to travel to an NSF conference or something like that. Those sorts of costs. And then in terms of what makes a good mentor, we do want somebody with a successful portfolio of external funding. The idea of this initially was that the mentor had to be a co-I on the mentee's proposal to strengthen the proposal, that there would be some clout to the mentor's name to help the mentee's application get funded. We've since removed that, but that is the sense that the mentor has had success with receiving extramural funding, in addition to just being a helpful resource, somebody that's been at the university and can help the mentee sort of sit down and strategize how to grow a research portfolio at MSU while managing all of your other obligations. So it is a special person, the mentor. Teresa, what question did you have?
If you have some other funding, can you mention it as matching? Is this something that works in favor of the proposal because I guess it's more articulated or complex?
Yeah, good question. We don't often use the term matching or cost share in these internal awards. So I don't think it would give you extra points to mention it like it would on an external,
Right.
proposal.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the 4 funding mechanisms. So let's talk about if you decide to go for one. We're going to look at the InfoReady system in a minute because, as we said, that's how you submit your application. But that is, the application is due by February 3rd at 4:30. You'll see in the application itself, you will enter your chair's email address. That's the first person it needs to get routed to for sort of an acknowledgement that you have received it. And then that really kicks off the routing of the proposal for reviews. So a proposal first gets reviewed by your local college research committee and your local dean. There's an asterisk there because it's strange, but university, again, all of this is spelled out in guidelines. So, but university distinguished scholar and faculty research mentoring, those two do not get reviewed by your dean. They only get reviewed by your college committee. But these folks give every proposal a score. Again, it's in the guidelines, but it's the score of either 1 or 0, whatever the lowest possible one is. I should really know it, but it's, as I said, it's in the guidelines. That is the only, if you get that score, it is not advanced to the next round. And whoever gives you that score, the committee or dean, must communicate with you why. It's rare that that happens, and it's typically a matter of eligibility. You requested funding for something that is clearly not eligible, or you yourself are not eligible. You're an adjunct faculty, and these are for tenure track faculty. Perhaps that's the reason, but that's where the review starts. They also make comments that get sent to the University Research Committee. The URC is the body made up of a representative of every, the 5 main academic colleges, as well as the School of Nursing and the library. So there's 7 members. They review and score every proposal. God bless them. And ultimately have funding meetings where they discuss strengths and weaknesses and make funding recommendations, which then go to the acting vice provost for research, Dr. Stephanie Brockfeld. An exciting development this year, as I said, we had a consultant evaluate the program last year, and one of the key findings was that we in the past have not given any sort of feedback when folks have been denied funding, and that came out in the consultant's report that that's a major problem, and Dr. Brockfeld agreed and wanted to make that a priority. So every application this year will receive a panel summary of sort of what the University Research Committee, the strengths and weaknesses there, and why you received the funding decision you did. So hopefully that will be helpful to lend to more fundable projects in the future. I just check the time. It's 10:44. We can launch into what the InfoReady system looks like. But any questions on this review process before we do? Teresa, is your hand up from before, or do you have a new question? Before, okay. Deborah.
Okay, so a couple of questions about the steps of the review process. First of all, so you said that the dean doesn't review mentoring and the special award, right, scholar, right, or whatever it's called, cannot remember. But does it come to his attention? And also, how much important is the response of the dean? What if you don't have a particular good relationship with the dean? So how is gonna be balanced if the committee has a good judgment of says that your project is very good, but you don't get a good review or just a bleak review from your dean?
Yeah, good question. What typically happens at the University Research Committee level is, because the URC looks at every application and scores it on merit, priority, feasibility, quality. You get a score from each of those 7 members. So there's a cumulative score, and then they look at all of the, let's say, SBR proposals, and we sort them. Who has the best scores? Who have the lowest scores, based on just the reviews of the URC, them as individuals. So then, maybe they say there's a clear cutoff of the scores, and let's look at these people that fall sort of around that cutoff, and let's talk about them. Let's look at what the College Research Committee said about them. Let's look at what the dean said about them. And let's, us as 7 members, try to figure out what to do with them. So that's kind of where the dean's scores and review come into play.
But
As
how
sort of
does
a
it work
tertiary.
exactly? So the proposal review, you said that you need to reach a certain score, right? With the college research committee and with dean. So what do they have? Do they have a chart? Do they have a rubric they need to answer to each of them of those questions? So it's normalized the way how you are assessing the proposal, or do you just write some prose like you do for a letter of recommendation? So what are the basis for the judgment to make sure that they are done equally?
Yeah, this is the guidance for the school and research committee to use the same sort of scores and rubrics to rate it strong, good, adequate. I would say in general, the deans are in the past have been very supportive of applicants that come from their college, I should say.
It's just a question, just
yeah.
to play safe and to understand how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, I think the URC's scores as the 7 members are really the key thing that dictates where funding levels are, or who gets funded, and then the college and deans kind of fall in a secondary category. I will just say, it's like most review committees, perhaps at the university, there is a union observer, as well as an administrative observer that come to all of the URC meetings, just so to keep in the back of your mind. But that's how it plays out. Larissa, what question?
So, but if sorry, one last thing, has it ever happened, or it can happen that you get the score from the committee but you don't get the score from the dean? What happens? Do you go to the next level or not?
Yes, the only thing, if you get a strong, good, or adequate from the college or the dean, it moves forward. It moves forward.
No,
and,
but
and it,
do
and
you
it,
need both? Or
yeah,
if one is saying yes and the other is saying no, what happens?
It does not go forward. If you get a 0 by your college committee or your dean, it does not go forward. But
do you have like for the tenure track process, do you have the right to appeal?
Perhaps. I don't know. It's very, very rare.
Can you is it an open process in which of course you as a participant, not everybody else, but you can see what the responses have been in an anonymous way, but do you get the response for the committee and for the dean once they have decided? So it's like, this is what they have decided.
No, you'll only know if you get a 0. If your application does not advance from this stage, you'll be notified, and you'll be notified why. Yeah, the few times it's happened, it has come directly from the dean to the applicant. I gave you a 0 and here's why. And then at this stage, as I said, this will be the first year that we do provide some feedback as to why you scored the way you did. So let me just move on to, it's 10:50, and I just want to make sure we look at info ready. Larissa, did you have a question, or was it answered?
I think it's a quick question. I hope so. So when in the new faculty program, when everybody visited to talk about different awards, somebody mentioned having like examples of successful applications, and I'm wondering if we have this for these awards too. Like maybe like from previous year, an example of like what was a successful application.
I have never shared, I could talk to my coworker here who managed the program before me. I've been here 5 years. I've never shared an example. However, let me just back up here. Because I would want to kind of black out some information about it. I think perhaps the better thing, at least this year, Laura said, good question, and maybe that's something I put on the website. I think the better thing, perhaps, if you're comfortable with it, is to look at the past internal awardees and look at the list here, and you yourself perhaps reach out to say, hey, I saw you got awarded, years ago. Would you be willing to share your application with me? Yeah, that's what I would recommend for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Teresa.
I don't know if it's been already addressed, but if there are people applying from the same department, I've seen some of my colleagues on this Zoom session. Does it make sense to decide ahead of time not to have too many proposals from the same department, or is it totally okay? Are individuals assessed as such, or is there a distribution over disciplines, or what's your experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if you look at this list, there's definitely folks that have been awarded from the same department. I want to just see. The committee added this last year or 2 years ago, a few years ago, but as part of MSU's commitment to diversity, the URC may also consider how its funding recommendations promote equity and inclusion. This is something that, again, after all the scores have been made, if you have a whole host of people, the score is based on this. If you have a whole host of people that got a 75, they're right in the middle and they all scored a 75. You have 5 people that got the same score. Well, what other sorts of things can we discuss about them? And maybe you say, well, we're already funding 3 people from biology. Maybe we shouldn't fund a 4th. Or, other sort of aspects of equity get looked at that stage. So that's the only thing I would say about people from multiple departments. It's not like they get ranked. This was the best from our department. This is second. This is third. That's not the way they go about doing it. Again, just in the InfoReady system, if you click on the competition you wish to apply for, and you see all the supporting documents, you'll launch into a submit. I might have already started this one. I think the button actually should have said submit, but it was that blue button, very clear. That's what you want to press to start an application. And most of this is relatively straightforward. The title, your request amount, the documentations. Oh, this is someone I already began. The things you're going to have to upload, your narrative, your budget sheet, your CV. Again, I'm going to scroll back up. It's all in the application instructions, what you will need to upload. But then the system prompts you to do that. If you've received SBR, this is the SBR proposal. If you've received SBR in the past, it wants you to upload your final report. If you don't have your final report, I do in a file, so let me know. But I do just want to point out here, this is how you have to enter the email address of your chair. You must use the @montclair.edu. Do not do mail.montclair.edu. It's just a strange thing in the system that I wanted to call everyone's attention to while I can. Use @Montclair to put your chair's email address. And then you'll submit. You'll receive an automated reply that it's been received, and that's the process. Again, February 3rd is the deadline for that. In our last 4 minutes, I also just want to say that I have these open labs on Wednesday, the 25th and Tuesday of the following week. If you want to drop by and ask any specific questions about your application, you can also always contact me. I actually I don't work remotely, so I answer my phone for the most part when I call, when, you know, I'm here at the office, so you can call me or email me. And yeah, that's that. Teresa, do you have another question?
Yes, very quickly again. Hope it's not a repetition. Can we apply for more than one category? And is the payment coming after we submit the report?
Oh, so yes, you can apply for more than one category.
Okay.
Just know it's rare to receive.
No,
both.
of course,
Yeah. So, like if, you know, I've seen somebody apply for faculty research mentoring and student faculty scholarship, and it's, you know, that you give it the committee the power to say, well, if we can only support her for one, we're going to give it to for her student. And it's like, would that be your preference? I don't know, but just know that.
And the projects can overlap.
Yep, the projects can overlap.
It's just to have a different nature to them, right?
Yeah, certainly in those two categories. And actually, I would imagine those are two so different. Faculty research mentoring, if you're the mentor helping someone, and over here you're a student, I could see, you know, the committee sort of saying, well, if we have the funding available, let's support her both, because they're totally different. So
no, but I understand that's pretty
yeah.
unlikely, but it's good to think in terms of how a project can have slightly different formats. Yeah. and need different types of funding.
Yeah.
And then the funding is disbursed upon completion.
In terms of the funding, if you're awarded, and Rita can speak to this if she's still on, if you're awarded, you work very closely with me to spend down your funding. Yeah, I kind of do all of the travel expenses. I'm sort of the administrative person that helps you spend down your award.
What is the stipend?
Oh, it's a stipend. We pay you up front. We pay you for this summer. So we'll process it right after you're notified. So applicants get notified mid to late May. And then, yeah, I would put in the summer stipend. You know, you would get a notification if anything's changed. If you want to decline the award, you would let me know. But if not, I just process summer stipends right away for this summer.
Okay, thank you.
And then, yeah, there is a final report due at the end of the project period, but that should be when everything's wrapped up, because it's not due until, I think, you know, the fall of next year, and you'll have stopped spending as of June 30th. For most, the faculty research mentoring is the one with the wonky project period.
You know, also, Kate, going back to Larissa's comment, I think it would be a good practice, though, to have models. And I wonder whether this is something that an outside committee would actually encourage the committee or the whole program to do, as they have in the past about other things. I'm thinking of the NEH. You don't access the full proposal sometimes, but you do have a lot of information about the synopsis, the nature of the budget, the people involved. So I think it can actually look very good for us if we have that information on the website, because you know, people know more about what we're doing as researchers.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Teresa. That I had written it down before, and I just put a star next to it, Luisa. So thank you to you both. And that is a very good suggestion. It's something I'll bring up with the committee and Dr. Brockfeld. Thank you. Okay, well then we are at 11:01. And thank you all for your participation. This has been a really good conversation. So if you need anything from me, you know where to find me, but good luck. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.